Last night we said farewell to The Undertaker, and whilst his conclusion was incredibly well detailed and thought through, there was another conclusion on this show that it wasn't so much. We'll talk about it. Look at the size of that ham hock! This is WWE Survivor Series 2020 Graded. We had a title change during the kickoff show. R-Truth bringing out the gobbledygooker, only to, you guessed it, get pinned by the Gooker, and Gooker becomes the 24/7 champion. I mean, I started tweeting that would happen, and as I was tweeting it, it happened. Can't say I'm mad. Then we had a battle royal for Sweet Fanny Adams, featuring members of the Raw and the SmackDown locker room. It came down to Jeff Hardy, Chad Gable, The Miz, and Dominic Mysterio. Chad Gable eliminating Jeff Hardy, which is very impressive. Then Dominic Mysterio managed to get out the ring The Miz. At least we thought so. Then he turned his attention to Chad Gable. They tussled. Chad went out. Dominic won, or did he? No, he did not, because The Miz, whilst he went out of the ring, got under the ropes before doing so. So therefore, was still in the match, rolled in, hoid Dominic out, wins the Battle Royal, and wins a big bag of nothing in the process. Giving it a C. It was just a standard Battle Royal for nothing, really. So Chad Gable looked good, I'll give him that. Chad Gable looked excellent in there. And Miz winning, I guess, out of everybody else in that mix makes sense. We want to keep The Miz strong since he's in the title picture, kind of, sort of. So, yeah, there you go. We start the show proper with the men's Survivor Series elimination match. Team SmackDown consisting of Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, King Corbin, Otis, and Kevin Owens taking on Team Raw. AJ Styles, Sheamus, Braun Strowman, Riddle, and Keith Lee. 1 year ago, Ross and I started a new song for Keith Lee. So it seems appropriate that this is the night where he reveals his new theme music. And it is a banger. It is a banger. Back and forth match until Rollins gets tagged in. He's been pretty surly on the apron up until this point. He gets into the ring, he goes down onto his knees, and he asks Sheamus to kick him in the head. To which Sheamus does, and pins him. And that's Seth out of the match, sacrificing himself for some greater good. Maybe he just didn't want to fight Riddle. That's quite possible too. Braun just crashes into Team SmackDown, who are powwowing at ringside. They go another man down shortly after Kevin Owens goes wild with stunners. AJ bashes him with a phenomenal forearm. Owens out of the match at that point. A minute later, AJ lands a Pele kick onto King Corbin. Riddle follows up with a floating bro. And King Corbin's out of the picture as well. Riddle distracts Otis as he's going up top for what looks like a Vader bomb. This allows Braun Strowman to pick up the blue collar man and hit him with a blue collar slam. Otis out of the match. And it's down to just Jey Uso, who gives it the old college try, dive to the outside of the ring, kicking everybody in sight, but he comes off the top rope and lands into the waiting arms of Keith Lee, who plants him with a spirit bomb. 1, 2, 3. We hear Keith Lee's new music once again. That's very kind of you. And Raw win in a shutout. No eliminations on Team Raw. Complete wipeout. Given this match a B, there was some good stuff in here, some interesting developments here, which will spin off into other storylines going forward. Wasn't the greatest match of the night, but it was a nice way to open the show. The Raw Tag Team Champions versus the SmackDown Tag Team Champions next. It is the New Day versus the Street Profits. And this is perfect, isn't it? You know, Street Profits, who really found themselves a home on Monday Night Raw and really made it their own. Then you got the New Day that have been part of the narrative of SmackDown for years. So representing, oh wait, no, they switched brands 3 weeks ago because of reasons. Okay, Survivor Series. Big E is out with Kofi and Xavier Woods, and they are in their Gears of War gear. They look like they're going to a Max Moon convention, and I love it. It looks brilliant. Solid tag team techers to start. No one really gets a purchase until Kofi lands a dive to the outside of the ring, and the vets take control. Some heelish shenanigans from Kofi as Tez is being worked over. He's taunting him with a red cup, and then Kofi just boots dumps the red cup into the crowd. Slight heelishness here, just a little bit. Tez gets the tag to Dawkins, and Dawkins runs wild here. He ends up getting cut off once again, though. A New Day hit the midnight hour, but they only get a 2 count out of it. The end comes when we have Xavier Woods and Montez Ford tussling in the corner. And what happens is Anzo Dawkins makes a blind tag to Montez Ford. This ends up becoming an electric chair blockbuster from the Street Profits for the 1, 2, 3. Street Profits beat the New Day. Lots of love and admiration and respect from both teams following this heck of a match. A match I'm going to give an A- to. Really good stuff from these guys. Like, they really went for it, and they established a lot of greatness for both of themselves here. And I feel like there's a little bit more to go as well. Like, I feel like they can give a little bit more. I want to see these guys feud like long term at some point, because I feel like we've only scratched the surface with New Day and Street Profits. The chemistry there was excellent. Next, the Raw United States champion Bobby Lashley is facing SmackDown's Intercontinental champion Sami Zayn. And Sami's keeping his distance from Big Boy Bob for a long time. He's getting a few cheeky shots in and keeping them separated for as much as he can. But once Bob gets his hands on him, Lashley's just battering Sami Zayn. Sami tries some Healy shenanigans to try and get out of this one. He cites vertigo when he was up in the vertical suplex for too long, and kind of buys some time with himself and the referee. He tries to get out of the match at one point, leaves the ring, and the New Day are just everywhere stopping him from doing that. At one point, he's trying to take the turnbuckle pad off while the ref's distracted. Shelton Benjamin jumps on the apron and goes, nah, that's not happening. Bob ends up beating him up some more. Sami falls out of the ring. He heads off up the ramp as MVP is stood on the ramp, and he falls backwards, and he's trying to claim that MVP tripped him up. And when the referee is distracted by Lashley, MVP just grabs Sami, throws him into the ring, and he gets put in the hurt lock and taps out. And that is very much that. This was a C for me. This was a bit of, I don't know how they were going to do this, and it just, heel and heel stuff, it's got to be special heel and heel stuff to work. And it was all right. There were some good bits in here, but this felt a bit throwaway for me. Sorry. Roman Reigns is chewing out Jey Uso backstage, very upset about the fact that his team lost for Survivor Series, and saying that if they don't fear and respect you, then you can't eat at the table. And Jay's got some stuff to think about. Maybe we'll see him again tonight. Who knows? The Raw Women's Champion Asuka in competition next against the SmackDown Women's Champion Sasha Banks. Banks having the early advantage here, almost getting the bank statement in, almost getting a 3 count off a backstabber, but Asuka managing to keep some distance, take control, do a bit of a dance, and take the lead in this match. It's pretty even Stevens, as at one point we see Sasha Banks hit a Meteora off the barricade, and Asuka manages to turn it into a code breaker on the floor. They both get in the ring at 9.99 recurring, where Sasha hits another backstabber for another near fall. They transition out of submission attempts, they transition out of pinfall attempts. Asuka finally taking a little bit more of the lead, pushes ahead, goes for a big running kick, and Sasha turns it into a roll-up for the surprise 1, 2, 3. Asuka looks shocked, and Sasha heads up the ramp smiling. She's 1-1 for Team SmackDown. Giving this match an A-. I thought in the time they had, which was I think just about 11 minutes, they did really good stuff here. Some really solid wrestling from both, and some really creative transitions in and around moves as well. I'd have given them longer. I would have given them longer. Just seems a shame that they had such a small amount of time in comparison to other things on the show. But it was a very, very good match. Like, these guys always work together really well. Like, they're always just on it, aren't they? And it's another match, like with Street Profits and New Day, that I'd like to see again. Gobbledygooker is led into a trap backstage using Birdseed. This leads to Akira Tozawa winning the 24/7 title from the Gooker. And then R-Truth turns up, just throws some Birdseed packets at Akira Tozawa, gets the pin, and Truth wins back his title. I think the 45th time as 24/7 champion. Off he goes. There he goes, running off again. Still not sold on these segments. I've talked about these enough on Raw Graded. But it was good to see the Gobbledygooker. I'm glad that we found a way to incorporate the Gobbledygooker into the 30th anniversary of The Undertaker. It would have been a bit sad if this had gone by and we hadn't mentioned him at least. The women's elimination match is up next. It's Team SmackDown, Bayley, Bianca Belair, the Riot Squad and Natalya versus Team Raw. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Peyton Royce, Lacey Evans and Lana. Lana gets a flurry early on before she is banished to the steel steps where she stands looking very, very sad. We see Peyton Royce hit a beauty of a superplex on Bayley to the outside of the ring, crashing onto all of Team SmackDown and most of Team Raw. Follows this up in the ring with a deja vu, and Peyton Royce has just pinned Bayley. Biggest win of Peyton Royce's career, that's massive. They capitalise on that by having Peyton eliminated moments later by Natalya. She goes with this submission move, doesn't quite get it on properly, so Natalya just says, sod it, I'm going to put you in a sharpshooter, and Peyton Royce taps out. Lacey Evans bops Natalya with a woman's right shortly after that to take her out of the match as well. Riot Squad look good in there against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, but Ruby gets overwhelmed by Baszler, gets put in the clutch. But she tries to reverse it, rolls backwards into a pin, but she passes out, even in the process of doing the pin reversal. So Baszler just pins her and she is out of the match. Liv Morgan getting one in for Team Blue by eliminating Lacey Evans with a crucifix bomb. But shortly after this, despite a good flurry from her, she ends up beating a Samoan drop from Nia Jax, and she's done as well. It's Bianca Belair all on her Todd against the might of Team Raw, and she looks great in there. Bianca Belair is the highlight of this match for me. She looks so crisp, so strong, so fresh. She moves so well. She was the highlight, without a doubt. She gets put in the clutch by Baszler, but she manages to lift Baszler up because she is the strongest, and she walks over to the ropes to break the hold. She collapses whilst holding onto the ropes. The referee counts to 5. Baszler doesn't release the clutch, so Baszler is disqualified. Another one down. So Bianca, cream crackered, all alone against Nia Jax and Lana, and these two have a tussle that ends up going to the outside of the ring. We see Bianca Belair dumping Nia Jax over the barricade and into the crowd, but they don't make the 10 count. So both Bianca Belair and Nia Jax are counted out. So the winner of the match and the sole survivor, it's the cat on the hot tin stairs, Lana. Lana jumps around in the ring, delighted, almost in tears she's won this match, whilst Nia Jax stares at Lana like she's some sort of filthy disease she can't find a cure for. Not that Nia Jax would take the cure anyway. C+ for this match. There was some good bits in here. Peyton Royce looked great in there. For the brief time she was involved, Bayley was great in there. Bianca Belair was excellent. But there was a lot of weird booking decisions in here that really brought the match down for me. It was the decision to have Peyton Royce pin Bayley, like the biggest star on, one of the biggest stars on SmackDown, and then have her eliminated moments later. Like it was an afterthought. And then you've got the Lana situation. Like you have spent weeks building Lana as this sympathetic babyface. But she wins this match not by overcoming the bullies, not by defying the odds. She wins the match by standing there, doing what she was told to do. You could have had a more compelling finish here. Just as me putting me fantasy booker's head on. Could you not have had it somehow end up having to come down to Lana and Bayley? And if Bayley's going to lose in this match, have her lose to Lana. Cheeky roll-up, something you can recover from. Like, that to me feels more like Lana overcoming the odds. She didn't do anything. She just stood there. I guess we've got another pay-per-view in a couple of weeks' time. Whether or not we have Lana and Jax in a tables match and Lana gets her final victory there, who knows? But this felt like you could have had a really nice feel-good moment here. But it was pulled away because you won not by overcoming the odds. You won by doing what your bullies told you to do and sheer luck. Like, we'll see where this goes. The WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns takes on the WWE Champion Drew McIntyre next in a battle of the heavyweights. This is strongman wrestling to start. Neither man really taking the lead until Drew sends Roman outside the ring, flustered. So Drew starting to push ahead in this one. This is a very slow and methodical style of match, and it's actually beautifully told how it starts so slow with these big beefy boys just sort of feeling each other out as the match begins. Roman does take the lead in this one, and Drew's comebacks keep getting aggressively shut down. It gets to a point where Roman goes for a Superman punch, but Drew turns it into a spine buster to take the lead again. He ends up throwing Roman Reigns into the steel steps as well, hits him with a Glasgow kiss and a future shock DDT for a 2. Drew goes for the Claymore, Roman bops him with a Superman punch, Roman goes for the spear, Drew turns it into a Kimura lock, which is new from Drew, nearly gets a submission win on Roman Reigns, which is very creative. The fight goes outside the ring with Roman Reigns Samoan dropping Drew twice onto the announce table, which is probably why Lana didn't go through the table earlier on tonight. And then Roman spears Drew through the barricade, but Drew gets back into the ring and he still kicks out. Roman Reigns just can't find the solution to the Drew McIntyre puzzle. Another spear, another kick out. Drew lands a desperation Claymore as Roman's looking for yet another spear, and this sends Roman crashing into the referee. From here, the match falls to pieces. Here comes Jey Uso, super kicking Drew McIntyre. Roman lands a low blow and puts that front face lock in, locks it in tight on Drew, and as another referee comes down, he is there simply just to check on Drew. Drew is out. The referee stops the match, awards it to Roman Reigns. After the match, Drew is coming to, and you can just see how furious he is with the way it went down. And Roman Reigns and Jey Uso embrace on the top of the stage. It looks like Jey is back at the table. I hope they didn't take the placemat away. This was an A. An easy A for me. This was a super heavyweight clash that lived up to expectations, and I love the stuff that they did here. This felt slow, methodical, aggressive. This was perfectly done. The way that Roman won continues to show how unstoppable Roman Reigns currently is. The way that Drew lost doesn't hurt Drew. Drew didn't tap out. Drew passed out. So Drew can always come back from this and say, hey, look, Roman, you couldn't beat me. With your biggest moves in your arsenal, you couldn't beat me. So there's story to be told here going forward. So it's an A for me. This was excellent. And so we come to the main event of the evening. It is the final farewell of The Undertaker. The dignitaries make their way out. Friends, family, rivals, and assorted others of The Undertaker. Shane McMahon is here. The Big Show's here. JBL, Jeff Hardy, Mick Foley, members of the Bone Street crew, the Godfather's here, Savio Vega's here, Henry Owen, Phineas I, the Godwins are here. Amazing to see the Godwins. Kevin Nash is here, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and Kane all here. Kane's the only one in ring attire. I feel like they told him, we're all coming in our gimmicks as a bit of a prank. Like that time I went to a fancy dress party that turned out to be a regular party. But I tell you what, I looked brilliant that night dressed as Mario, and I won't have anything else said about it. After a video package all about the history of The Undertaker, we come back to the ring and Vince McMahon is stood alone and he gives an emotional introduction to The Undertaker. Undertaker comes out to the ring, smoke, fire, electricity playing his theme. That was cool. And instead of climbing up the stairs, he has a pedestal that rises. Lana could have done with that earlier. He rises up on a pedestal. He gets into the ring, keeps it really simple, says for 30 years he's been doing this, and now it is time for The Undertaker to rest in peace. He goes down on one knee, throws his hand to the sky, rolls his eyes in the back of his head, and there's a hologram of Paul Bearer, which is pretty cool. He bows to him, and then Paul Bearer disappears, and then Undertaker stays down for ages. I remember watching it live going, this is starting to feel a bit cringe at this point, Because Undertaker's just been there for almost too long. Like, was something meant to happen that hasn't happened? I'm very concerned. He then eventually stands up and makes his way to the back. And that's it. That's the segment. That's the final farewell of The Undertaker. I'm making a decision to not grade this, and I'll tell you for why. I wish they hadn't done it in the current circumstance. And I know you can't avoid it, because I might get told off for this by the internet. I love the setup, I love the arrangement, I love having his mates there. But to have them in the ring and then have them disappear and then not be referenced again, I thought was weird. Like, could you not have them around the ring or something? No, we're not, okay. And then, I think again, like, he was just like stood in the ring for a long period of time. It was like something had gone wrong. Like, I couldn't help but feel a bit cringy at that point. And then, yeah, and it's just the fact that we're in the Thunderdome and there's no one there, and it feels a bit sad. Like, this should be, The Undertaker's farewell should be in a stadium filled with people who can't let him get a word in. But instead, he's in an arena with webcams and piped in chants. The piped in chants saying "Thank you, Taker." Even a bit where they try and pipe in a peace, because he's saying "Rest in peace." And it just, you can hear it's piped in, and it just breaks my heart. Like, this is a guy that's given so much, and this isn't WWE's fault. No, there is a global pandemic on. I get that. Like, the world is on fire. You can't fill a stadium for this bit right now. You absolutely can't. But then at the same time, I don't want to downgrade it for that, because that's things out of their possibility. That's things out of their hands. Like, it's wrong for me to say, oh, you could have done like this, when they've actually done the best they can with the situation they're in. So I'm not going to grade it. I'm not. There were bits on it that were really nice. Bits on it that I really loved. Bits that made me go, ooh, and bits that made me feel sad. So we all ran the gamut of emotions last night. Maybe that's what they wanted. It was nice to see The Undertaker get something that resembled a send-off. See you in Saudi Arabia. It was great to see The Undertaker. That's another discussion for another time. The wording, incidentally, is very interesting, because there was a lot of talk of, it's time to let The Undertaker rest in peace, said Mark Calloway. So The Undertaker's resting in peace. But is Mark Calloway resting in peace? Again, another story for another time. This was nice. This was a nice... There's things they could have done if the world was different. But for what they did, this was really nice. And that's a nice way to end the show. Overall, I'm giving Survivor Series a B+. I thought there was lots to like on this show. Some of the main champ versus champ matches were very good to excellent, with the exception of Zayn and Lashley, that was just a bit there. The women's title, the women's champions, the tag team champions, and the heavyweight boys just brought it on the night. Confusing booking in some places, obviously with the Lana thing that we've talked about, but I think there was more to love on this show than to hate, and surely that's what it's all about. We wish The Undertaker a happy retirement. Think of all that time you can spend in the garden now, maybe fixing that infestation problem. Digging 29 holes for 29 moles. Stay safe. Love you, bye.